YouTube was good. Welcome to another episode of New York Prison Talks. If you're new to my channel, I ask that you please like and subscribe to my channel. I like to send out information and give out messages to family members that might be incarcerated that could hear some advice, or people that might be facing some time that's still out here. Probably could listen to some of these videos. Um, I had somebody ask me what goes on a daily basis in prison. I actually been having a lot of good questions. A lot of good questions. A lot of people been showing a lot of love too, and I thank all of y'all for that. Been showing them the love and support. But what goes on a daily basis in prison is like you wake up. Soon you wake up, you might be waking up like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. In prison, in the max, you're waking up depending on what type of jail you in. It's some type of facilities you might be waking up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning just for a CO to do a round. They wake everybody up. I know in Comstock they wake you up at 5:45 in the morning. You gotta wake up, turn the light on, and sit up on your bunk and wait for the officer to pass to your cell to count you. If you don't do that in the morning, if you still sleeping or you don't hear the bell, because it be a loud bell that rings all in the morning. It's mad loud, and it rings for about good 2 minutes, 2, 3 minutes. And if you don't hear that, sometimes you might not hear it. And if you a CO, he could be a dickhead, and he walks past your cell, and he sees that you just still sleeping in your bed, and you don't got your light on, he might write you up and write you a ticket. You get a ticket, now you in trouble. You got a misbehavior report, and that ticket you just gonna be locked in for your cell the whole day. It depends on how the CO might write it up or how they might want to serve you. But like that's how the morning can start off like that. Like 5:45 in the morning, you just waking up. You have to wake up with the light on. You gotta turn the light on. It's bright light. You gotta make sure the light is on. You gotta make sure if you have a curtain in your cell, some dudes have curtains in their cell. Well, everybody be having a curtain in their cell. You slide the curtain back in his cell, and the CO gotta make sure he can see you when he walks past your cell. And if you don't do all of that, if you're not sitting up on your bunk, and if you're not looking like you up, he could write you up, and then you won't be coming out your cell for the rest of the day. That's just the beginning of the morning. That's 5:45 in the morning. Then a couple hours later, you could go back to sleep right after that. A couple hours later, you might be hearing your cell neighbors waking up, sweeping their cell, moving their bunks around. You might be hearing the dudes from the mess hall. That's about the time the dudes from the mess hall start going to the mess hall for work. The mess hall workers. And then you hearing all of that, you might not be getting enough good sleep for that, because now you hearing a lot of people making movement, and everybody's starting to wake up. People start yelling out their cells. People be yelling out their cells that early in the morning. People be yelling out their cells. This is in Comstock. People be yelling out their cells all type of times of the day. It doesn't matter. And it be tears. And you could be upstairs, down, floor. It's like 4 floors on each side. And it's just mad cells. And you could all hear each other on every tier. You can hear everybody. So you could be in cell 30 and you could be yelling down to cell 1. He might could be able to hear you if it's that quiet at night or in the morning. And it's like about 7 o'clock comes in the morning. It's like you go in the child. The child runs for about, it's supposed to be for about a good hour, hour and a half. But it could take way longer than that if dudes is fighting. Because 9 times out of 10, a lot of dudes is fighting for breakfast. That's how all the fights be starting off early in the morning. And you might have a couple fights that happen that slows down child and movement. Because when a fight happens, there's no movement right after that. It's a red dot. It's going to probably take about between 10 to 20 minutes for the situation to clear up. And within that 10 to 20 minutes, there's no movement, meaning nobody is moving, coming out their cell. Nobody's leaving out of the mess hall. Nobody's walking around. If it's inmates that's in the hall, all they doing is they on the wall with their hands on the wall, just waiting like this for it to clear up the whole time. Nobody is moving at all. And then that could happen about 2 or 3 times during that mess hall. And then every time it's a red dot, they might slow it down even more. That first one probably was 10 minutes, they cleared it up. The second one might be 20 minutes. And then let it happen again, 30 minutes, they slow it down even more. And then by the time it's the mess hall is supposed to be cleared up and stuff, it might be about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And that's the time that you're supposed to be going for programs and rec and all of that. At the same time they run in the mess hall, you could allow to go to programs to school and stuff at the same time. So when you leave out, you go to program, you could go to the mess hall, you could go to your vocational or your school that you have, if you have classes and stuff, or if you work for all workers like electric people, the plumbers, all of that. They be having all of that. But if you have nothing to do in the morning, if you don't want to go to the mess hall, or if you don't want to go, if you don't have no programs, and that might be your rec time. Rec probably was supposed to be at 9 o'clock. Mess hall, for in order for you to go to for rec to begin, the mess hall has to clear out. So for that to happen, everything gets slowed down. 10 o'clock comes, it's like when 10 o'clock comes, you mad because you already know that you only got like 20 minutes in the yard, because by like 10:30, they already closing the yard down because they got to get everybody back inside for the 11 o'clock count. This is how it is every single day in the max. So if you were supposed to get wrecked at 9 o'clock in the morning, a couple fights happen, and then it slows down. Wreck goes out at 10 o'clock. You only gain like 20 minutes because they're going to start closing down about 10:20, between 10:20 and 10:30. They're going to start closing the yard down, because that process of them closing the yard down takes about 20 minutes for everybody to go back inside. So at the same time they running, like every time they run something, it takes about a good 20 minutes for them to run everything, to clear everything out. So if they run in the yard might be going out, they letting every cell out, they letting every block out. On a fast, regular day, it could take a good 15, 20 minutes. If it's slow, they could take 30, 40 minutes. So if you trying to go out at rec, they really would do it like this. If you're trying to go out for rec, and they just started to call the cells out at 10 o'clock, and they doing it mad slow, they'll pop your cell out at 10:30. And then by the time you get out to the yard, they say yard is closed. Soon you get out there, let it be past 10:30, they might not even let you out of your cell, because they're going to say that it's already count time at 11 o'clock. That's in the morning. That's just in the morning. And the same process could repeat next time you come out of your cell. Later on for the next movement. Might be for dinner. Might be for the lunch. So at 11 o'clock, you coming out of your cell. Is no coming out of your cell. Wait, hold on. I just messed that part up. There's no coming out of your cell. You coming into your cell at 11 o'clock is count time. Count time is from 11 to 11:30. It's supposed to be a whole half an hour. They don't clear it to about 11:45. They supposed to start calling child for lunch now. Programs and child's supposed to start going out by 12 o'clock. So about a whole hour is because they like to play games like this. They could really let people out at 11:30. As soon as count clears, that's when they can start running chow and stuff. But they don't do that. They make sure at 11 o'clock, everybody comes inside. The CO counts everybody at 11 o'clock. 11:30 count, they say count is clear. They announce that the count is clear. They can start running programs that they want, but they don't do that. They'll make sure it's 12. 12:15 might come by. This is on days when dudes want to mess up and just want to keep fighting out themselves. They make sure they jerk people's time now. So they make sure 12 o'clock comes, 12:15 comes, 12:30 comes. Start running your program. Start running the mess hall. Mess hall and programs is coming out. Now that might take about a good 45 minutes to an hour, because now they running everybody out. It might be even more people coming out of these cells now than the morning time. It depends. Sometimes in the morning, if it's a good breakfast, a lot of people come out they cell in the morning. But if it's a good lunch, a lot of people come out they cell at lunchtime. Plus, they still running. Now they running programs all over again. They running the school again. They running the people that go to work. They running all the little programs, the vocationals. And then after that time, you got 1 o'clock comes. might be rec time, but it's not, because they still counting the mess hall. They still having people coming out running program. So 1:15 comes. Now everybody's coming out of the mess hall. Everybody's coming out of the mess hall. They might run that a little faster because not that many people might be going to the mess hall, because a lot of people go on the program at the same time. So people that's coming out of the mess hall might be good 15, 20 minutes. So it might be 1:45 that comes. 2 o'clock, they say, on the yard. Calling the yard to people to go out for the yard, for program, for rec. That's their program, is rec. Some people's program is rec. So they start going to the rec. 2:30, the yard is closed back down. You was supposed to go to the yard at 1 o'clock, but they jerked the whole time. And they let everybody come back inside 1:45 to clear the mess hall, and you don't go out to probably like 2 o'clock, 2:15. The yard's closing between 2:20 and 2:30. And by the time it's 2:30, when you coming inside, it's a whole half an hour process for them to clear the count. 3 o'clock comes. When 3 o'clock comes, the shift change. So when they make sure everybody's inside by 2:30. So 3 o'clock, it's a whole new wave of COs that come in. Now the difference between the different waves of the COs that come in is a lot of the COs that was working in the morning, those are ones that's been there a long time. They've been there like 20, 30 years, just as long as the inmate that been locked up. Them COs been doing that for like 20, 30 years. And a lot of them has the morning shift. You might have a few that might be starting off too as rookies that might be blending in, learning and stuff in the morning shift as well. And those ones be training them. And that's how the young ones become kind of dickheads, because they be learning from the best. So when that happens, they already know, as the 3 o'clock is coming in, all the ones that was already in the morning is telling them what happened. They reading in the logbook. So now you got the whole 3 o'clock shift of COs that come in. They the younger ones. They probably just started, might be the first, second, third year. They might got probably like 10 years in. A lot of them don't be having as much time in as the morning COs. But a couple of the morning COs might be there still in the PM, might be working double. So it gets blended in with a lot of the new ones that work at the night, mixed in with a few ones that might be working in the morning shift. So it gets blended in. And a lot of the young ones like to be dickheads too, because they learn from the ones that's been there for a while. And it's just like, a lot of them could be family, and it just goes in. And then what I'm basically trying to say is, this is how the COs work with each other. They mingle, they all cool with each other, they learning from each other. So the ones that work in the morning is teaching the ones that's working the night. And this is how they make it strict and secure. They learn it. So it stays strict and secure after 3 o'clock comes. This is the point I'm trying to make. It stays strict and secure. So by the time program's supposed to start at 4 o'clock comes, it might not happen. Program might not go out till 4:30. Now, because they wanted to be dickheads in the morning, they gonna make sure they be dickheads at night. So they gonna make sure programs go out at 4:30. They might be running the mess hall. That's the time mess hall is supposed to go out, at 4:30 and stuff. That might take about a whole hour. 6 o'clock comes, then that's when a lot of programs and stuff is supposed to go out. That might not go out because they still running the mess hall. They might take at nighttime and run the mess hall for about a good hour. And they make sure by the time everybody comes, because when they run in the dinner mess hall, it's not really programs coming out. Programs is done after 3 o'clock, because it's all of that. The teachers go home, the civilians go home, everybody go home. They have night programs, but not like how it is in the morning. So by the time 6 o'clock comes and programs supposed to be going out, they might still be running the mess hall. The mess hall just might be coming in. So 6:30 comes, 7 o'clock comes, that's when they might run the programs. Rec's supposed to be going out around that time too. But they don't call rec till about 8 o'clock, because 7:30, 8 o'clock, because of all the stuff that's been going on through the whole day. The whole day. Rec was supposed to go out probably at 6:30 with programs, because sometimes they do it like that too. If it's a good day, they try to combine everything together and make sure everybody gets a lot of time in the yard. So they try to make sure they call a program in the yard at the same time if it's a good day. But if it's a bad day, they call just programs, and then they run the programs for a whole hour. And then they call the yard. And then yard comes, it's 7:30, they calling the yard. Everybody's coming in for the yard. Everybody, by the time 7:30 comes, yard is running. It might not be an early go back. It's supposed to be an early go back at 8 o'clock. This is Comstock. It might not be an early go back though. Because now, since dudes wanted to fight and all of that, they just gonna have one go back at night. And that process of them running the yard could take a whole hour. So dudes might be going out at 7:30 to the yard. They were supposed to run the yard at 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock is supposed to be an early go back. Within probably 20 minutes, they could run the yard for the whole jail. 20 minutes it could take for everybody to come out they cell, but they don't do it like that. They make sure it take 45 minutes to an hour, where there won't be no early go back. And then 8 o'clock comes, then you just might be stuck in the yard. I say it like this because if you just stuck in the yard and you're not doing nothing, a lot of people like to go to the yard and cop drugs. A lot of people like to go in the yard and just like to get on the phone. A lot of people to go in the yard like to just talk real quick and just go back to their cell. That's for the early go back. That's why a lot of people go back. And a lot of people do go back for the early go back. But let it be like winter time and it's 20 degrees in the mountains and you in Comstock and it's 10 degrees outside, or it might be below zero, and it'll be a lot of dudes that still go to the yard. And let it be no early go back. Or they might tell, yeah, it might be an early go back, just go outside. And they might just be lying to you just so you can go to the yard, and then you go to the yard and then you be stuck in the yard till 10 o'clock for 2 hours long, and it's 0 degrees, and you only supposed to have 2 layers on, meaning you could only have pants on, and underneath the pants you could only have thermals on, nothing else underneath that. Underneath your jacket you could have a sweater on, and underneath your sweater you could have a shirt on, nothing underneath that. If they throw you on the wall and they catch you with more than 2 layers on you, they will send you back to your cell. If they throw you on the wall and they catch you with more than 3 layers on you, they will throw you back to your cell. If you don't have your ID, when you go into the metal detector, and you supposed to show every CO your ID. One time I got away with that. I'm not gonna lie. One time I got away with that shit. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. They wasn't paying attention. You supposed to show every CO your ID when you go into the yard to acknowledge that that's you and that you have your ID. Because if you don't have your ID, that means you can't go nowhere. Your ID, COs be snatching a lot of dudes' IDs a lot because they know that's for them to go to the yard. You need that to go to the yard. And a lot of dudes don't be having the IDs. So if they don't see you with your ID, you get sent back. I remember one time I didn't have my ID. I don't know how it happened. I played it off real good. I just was like, just kept walking. The COs wasn't, some COs be paying attention, some COs don't. Because they might be chatting with a couple officers. Like at every couple corners, it might be a CO just watching for the movement. So it might be at this corner is a CO, you got to show him the ID. The next corner, you got to show him your ID. So by that time, you got to pass about 5 officers to do that. Just to get up to the metal detector, to go through the metal detector. And I don't know how I got past all them COs. This only happened one time because I forgot my ID in my cell. But I had made it through. And at that time, it was so strict that they was running it. They did a surprise metal detector, meaning they sent everybody to a different way to get searched and sent out to the yard. It was kind of like a surprise search going out to the yard with a different type of metal detector. And they wasn't paying attention, and I ended up just going to the yard. So if you don't have that, you get deaded on the yard. If you buzz going through the metal detector, this is a big thing. I need people to understand this one. If you getting locked up, pay attention to this. Pay attention. A lot of people get sent back to the yard get sent back from the yard because they buzz going through the metal detector. When you buzz going through the metal detector, you get stripped. Not stripped. It depends. You could get stripped. If they find something on you, they'll strip you. They'll strip search you after that. You done. You go into the box. They found some drugs or something on you. But if you buzz going through the metal detector, you could get sent back from the yard because you might have your belt on and you buzzed. They warn you. If you go through the metal detector with your belt on, you getting sent back. A lot of dudes still go through the metal detector with their belt on. They tell you. They tell everybody. Make sure you have everything. If anything's supposed to ring on you, make sure you don't have it on you. If you have it on you and it rings and we find it on you, you will get sent back. They be saying just like that every time. Some shit like that. Some dudes get sent back because they just buzz. If you buzz, they search you on the wall. They put you on the wall and they search you. If they find what you supposed to have on you that they told you wasn't supposed to have on you, and if they find it, they're going to just send you back and you're deaded on the yard. Now, that's so important getting deaded on the yard because that's probably the only time you get to use the phone during the day. If you have yard, you don't really use the phones that's the only time you get to use the phones is when you're in the yard. There's no other really time. They might have phones on the inside that you might use every other day. But if you having that night wreck and that's the only time you go to the yard, that's the only time you get to use the phone. And if you get sent back to the yard, it's like you just tight. You mad, you gonna be in your cell for the rest of your night and you can't do nothing about it. Just think about that, people. Just kind of think about what I'm saying because that's a whole day of fights going on, a whole day of just the prison just going wild, and everything just gets set it back for the whole day. And it don't even have to be like that. Sometimes they just run it like that on purpose. Sometimes they just slow everything down. Sometimes it could be just one fight that go on and they just slow everything down. That's the main thing about being in prison that gets everybody mad is how they jerk your time and they jerk your wreck. Because that's the only type of privilege that's kind of fun that you might need for the phone and you might need, you want to work out and you all of the activities that you want to get out of your system of going to the yard. That's the only time you could do it. And if you don't really get that out of your system, dudes be getting mad because a lot of dudes like to get high. A lot of dudes like to work out. A lot of dudes just like to play chess. I like to play chess. I was nice in chess. A lot of dudes like to play handball. A lot of dudes like to play basketball. A lot of dudes like to play soccer. It's a lot of that be going on in the yard. Just a whole bunch of people running, workout people. It's like just one big ass beach/park. Because people be like, it be hot outside. You got people that just be putting their shirts on the ground and they just be laying down suntanning. That's why I say /beach. If it's mad cold out, a lot of people like to dig their area out. If it's snow outside, they dig their little area out. And that's their area. Everybody know they got their areas in the yard. They dig their own area out with their shovel. They might be using their feet to dig their area out. Because they don't clean everywhere. They only clean out, they only shove out the movement where everybody could walk. Now, throughout the yard, it might be the areas that people got to be hanging out at that they ain't shoveling, like the workers ain't shoveling at. They only shoveling the people where you could walk at, only the movement areas. So you might be shoveling that out. If you want to go to prison, just think about all that stuff I just said. That's a whole day of prison. That's literally a whole day of just stuff going, just slowing down, and just a whole day. And that's just a little bit that I'm just talking about, a little schedule that I'm talking about. So y'all could think about that. I thank y'all for coming to my YouTube channel. Please keep subscribing and liking. Thank you.